Monday. Welcome in. Chris Meaney here of FTN, making sure we're officially live, and we are. Let's go. As you see, we are doing another one of these 350 Rotowire online championships over at NFFC. Shout out to them, of course. Play NFFC.com. It's the site to check out to get all the details, all their contests available on their website. This is, as I mentioned, the 350 entry. Myself, Nelson Souza, as well in this draft. Unfortunately, unable to join me live here. He is drafting on his iPad, and you see we're officially underway here. This league is 6-point passing, PPR, third round reversal. We got running back here off the hop, and top two pay in each league, including $1,500 to first place and a $250K grand prize overall. They're expecting roughly 4,800 people, contestants all together, and this is their 21st year. And after this season, they've given out roughly 100 mil in prizes. So a shout out to NFFC, and we are officially underway. Let me know if you guys can see the draft board. It's fine. You can hear me. If you have any questions, leave them in the chat. I will answer any questions throughout this draft. Nelson actually just came out with an article over at ftnfantasy.com, high stakes targets for him. My rankings and his rankings can be found over at ftnfantasy.com, and you can use promo code FTN15. Save yourself a little bit of cash here. I'm in the 7th spot. If you hang around long enough, I will let you know where Nelson is. He says he's done enough of these live streams. He does not care if you see his team or not. As I mentioned, I am in the 7th spot here. And we are just waiting on Team 5 to get going. It's currently paused. Okay, so I was like, wait, have we frozen here? I should be up. This went by pretty quickly here earlier. Just got to make sure everyone is, in the draft room. NFFC does a really good job of this. Make sure everybody's in the draft, ready to go, hard-earned bucks on the line. So I get it. And there we go. Team 5 goes with Tyreek Hill. So again, 7th spot. I think I was in the 7th spot last time I streamed here on our FTN YouTube page. I believe I went with Jamar Chase. And there it goes in the 6th spot. So Justin Jefferson available to me, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I'm in the 9th spot. Jeez, there goes Justin Jefferson. I was in the 7th spot last time, and I went Jamar Chase. We're off to a hot start here. Amon-Ra, look at the wide receiver run. And the 3 backs that I would want at this point are gone. So we're going to go with little A.J. Brown. Debating between A.J., Jonathan Taylor, or Saquon Barkley here, really. But I'm going to go with A.J. I really like Devontae Smith as a target, too. I probably won't do that now. I don't mind the 2. If you get A.J. Brown, we're not doing best ball here. We're not stacking. Waivers are going to run. We don't need to stack. It's beneficial. Sure. A lot of talk on the SiriusXM show this week and last week about stacking a running back with the quarterback. There's been some talk about that strategy in fantasy football. Patrick Mahomes, Isaiah Pacheco, you feel like you get a big bulk of the touchdowns, if you have both of those guys. But we're not, I don't know how I feel about it. I think it's okay. Top offenses. Has to be a clear-cut RB. And I would say an elite quarterback. I could maybe get behind Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs, but I don't have any Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs shares together. I'll tell you that. So welcome in. Any questions? By all means, hit them up in the chat. We'll get to them throughout this. As I said, 3rd round reversal here. So we started off the draft with CMC, Bijan Robinson, CeeDee Lamb, Breece Hall, Tyreek Hill. I'm on deck here. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown to myself, Garrett Wilson, Jonathan Taylor, Marvin Harrison Jr., Drake London start for Team 12, and Team 11 with the Jonathan Taylor and Jahmyr Gibbs start, RB. Interesting there. Saquon may be available to me here. That would be next on my list. Again, I don't necessarily want to do that. Saquon makes life a little bit easier there for me. Top running backs for me are gone. There's a couple more that I don't mind a little early. I'm going to go wide receiver start here. And I'm going to roll with Devontae. Between Devontae and Chris Olave, Puka Nacua is still in this tier for me. I don't expect a similar season for Puka, but I'm fine with where he's going in drafts. And now he's got the injury, and he should be ready to go week 1, if not shortly after, as Puka goes just there. Don't let Puka fall too far. I know a lot of people don't. And I'm fine with him here, in this tier. I don't think he belongs in the AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson tier for me. Marvin Harrison, Drake London. It's a pretty lengthy, that would be like tier 4 for me. CD, Tyreek, Chase, Jefferson, Amon-Ra. And then I'd go into tier 2 with AJ, Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison, Devontae Adams. Drake London's kind of next. I think there's a drop off. London, Puka Nacua, Chris Olave, and a couple others here. This tier would be pretty lengthy for me anyways. Again, rankings tiers all available over at ftnfantasy.com. Those who know me, I mean, I mix up every draft. I'm not married to any strategy. I am a hero RB, anchor RB type drafter. I probably never would start the way the Team 11 did, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I'm not saying my strategy is right and Team 11's is wrong. There's 2 good backs. Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs, 2 really good backs. I have Gibbs just slightly below Taylor and Barkley. Same tier, but below those 2 guys. I don't think Dave Montgomery's going anywhere, but both guys can coexist. We've seen it before. We saw it down the stretch of last season, but Montgomery isn't going anywhere. He's the closer. The Lions have 14 games in the Dome this year, which is good for Jared Goff and his splits. But he's not going anywhere. Double-digit carries. He's going to close out games, most games when they're up. He probably would finish in the top 5 in red zone rushing attempts again. Gibbs could be inside the top 10. They could be pretty close. They were down the stretch last season. But yeah, nothing wrong with that start. Just rather an AJ Adams. I like the Puka, St. Brown. I like the Jefferson Olave. I like those starts. Quite a bit. All right, so the end of the first, we had Garrett Wilson, team 10, Jonathan Taylor, team 11, Marvin Harrison Jr., team 12. Then team 12 decides and goes Drake London. I'm expect the breakout too. As long as Kirk Cousins healthy, right? Zach Robinson in town. Cousins comes from the Sean McVay tree, the Kevin O'Connell. I think he's the top 5 play caller in the league, Kevin O'Connell. That's why I don't mind JJ. And I don't mind Jefferson. He's quarterback proof. He's going to be fine. I remember the games he had with Nick Mullins down the stretch, and I don't think there's going to be too much of adjustment when they move away from Sam Darnold in a couple weeks if he is the week 1 starter. Be JJ McCarthy in there eventually. I was kind of impressed with his game. I know he threw a pick. He bounced back. He had some nice tosses. He looks ready. So Drake London to kick us off, team 12, then Jahmyr Gibbs with the Jonathan Taylor start, then Saquon. I like that start too. Garrett Wilson, Saquon, to be the anchor back there. So 3rd round reversal that's going to come back our way here pretty quickly. I don't mind the 3rd round reversal. I prefer not to have it, but I understand it. There is an advantage of having those top couple picks. I think I get it more in baseball. So Devontae, team 9, that is me. Puka Nacua, Chris Olave, Travis Etienne. So what do we got? RB7 off the board. Derrick Henry. Man, Etienne should get a big bulk of the touches. I know we haven't seen him be an electric pass catcher just yet. Not like the Clemson. It is not really Clemson vibes, but there is some talk about that. And I don't think Tank Bigsby is it. So still some backs here for me. Cooper Kupp goes. Yeah, Cooper Kupp is going much higher in high stakes, and I get it. I totally understand that thinking. Pacheco would be next here on my radar. Devon Chan is an easy fade for me this early. I really like Josh Jacobs and Kyron Williams are 2 guys that I don't mind here. I'll go with Kyron. It's pretty close. I have them in the same tier as well. I think I like Josh Jacobs more than most. I think he's a pretty good target. Marshawn Lloyd dealing with a hamstring injury already. He's had so many injuries in college. And I understand the Devon Chan picks. I get the ceiling. We play 4 or 5 games and set records. Look like LaDainian Tomlinson out there. My goodness. This is another guy that I don't think is going anywhere is Raheem Mostert. And Devon Chan is based on pure upside. I think we'll be able to count on one hand how many games he's had double-digit carries. I don't think he's built for that. Mostert could go down, and I could be wrong. We could see Wright. Wright was, he stood out over the weekend, and he's going to be a good back too. It's a bunch of dudes there they'll rotate through, but I know it's not based on pure volume. Like there's so many guys after him that's going to get way more touches and way more opportunity. Rashad White, Josh Jacobs, James Cook, Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara is going to catch 70 balls again. Even Kenneth Walker, like it's going to get James Conner. James Conner is a guy that I think could have a better fantasy season than a Chan, but I understand it. Like I said, I totally get it. I mean, this is a team that's going to run the football really well. Mike McDaniel, his schemes are fantastic. This is really high. Third round is not bad. End of the third round here, like because it was the start of the third round, but I think I'm probably more willing to do it if I started like wide receiver, running back, like Garrett Wilson, Saquon Barkley, and then maybe a Chan there. But St. Brown, Puka Nacua, and a Chan, I mean, there's a ton of upside. Devon Chan, there's a ton of upside with Team 8. Team 7 starts 3 wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, Chris Olave, and Michael Pittman. Malik Neighbors there to Team 6. Neighbors avoided a scare. I guess we got a scare, avoided something serious. It's only a minor ankle sprain. He's considered day-to-day, according to head coach Brian Dable. DK Metcalf goes there, and Brandon Ayuk. Man, Brandon Ayuk I still have as a top 15 wide receiver. What's this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. My goodness, this is some good value there. Devontae Smith. How about that start? CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith. Yeah, I think you guys can guess who Team 3 is. Check out all his work over at ftnfantasy.com. Yeah, I'm jealous of the start. I've a majority of my drafts have been wide receiver starts. You sprinkle in the third. I think he can certainly get behind this start. And there's still some good running backs if Team 3 decides to go RB. Maybe Josh Jacobs is there. Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, things like that. But do like that start. Jalen Waddle to me and Devontae Smith are undervalued. I think these guys are high-end wide receiver 2s. There's a couple others that I like a little bit more than the consensus ADP. And when they pop up on the draft board, I will bring them up. Cooper Kupp is one of those guys. Michael Pittman, I think, is going to touch early. The injury to Josh Downs, like it certainly does help him a bit. But using some of our split tools at FTN Fantasy, you can see it when you watch the Colts games. Like Gardner Minshew really locked in on Michael Pittman. The targets came down when Anthony Richardson was under center. But again, it was such a small sample size. He's a really good wide receiver, short and intermediate type wide. AD Mitchell is the one-on-one deep threat guy. He's going to see a lot of one-on-one boxes stacked against a run-first squad in the Colts. And Shane Steichen. Malik Neighbors again goes there. I could see Neighbors kind of creeping into the second round of drafts. I mean, maybe not anymore because of the injury, but if he was, he's a walking highlight machine, man. That guy, he's really good. I would like him. I would flip-flop him and Marvin Harrison if Arizona decided that they wanted to go Malik Neighbors. They're on the same tier for me in terms of talent. Situation is not as good, of course, for Malik Neighbors. Should see a little Daniel Jones action soon in the preseason. Oh, baby. So the end of the third, Kenneth Walker, Rashad White, Jalen Hurts, your first quarterback off the board. Seen this a few times, several times. People are expecting a down tick, I think, from both Jalen and Josh Allen in terms of rushing touchdowns. These guys are going to score 15 rushing touchdowns. But double digits is certainly possible with both of them. And, Josh Allen lost a lot. So you want up Gabe Davis or Stephon Diggs, that's like 80% of their end zone targets. It's like 2,000 yards roughly. Keon Coleman's a rookie. Curtis Samuel's he doesn't have a high ceiling. His best season came with Joe Brady, but Khalil Shakir, I'm interested in. Let it be known in the draft room. Whoever's hanging out, I'm interested. Khalil Shakir. We got Team 3 here on the clock. Oh, wow. Going wide receiver again. 4 of them. Wow, what a start. Dig it. That digs it. Stephon. It's hard to tell, right? But to get him as your 4, the upside, it's hard to pass up CJ Stroud. It's really hard to pass up on Stephon Diggs, and he's already kind of. I don't think he was really getting into it with CJ Stroud over the weekend, but it was just hilarious to see people talk about it because it's gonna be a thing that everyone talks about all year when these two were on the sidelines. Tank Dell scored the touchdown. Nico's my favorite of the bunch. Tank Dell, I think, he's dropping now. In best ball, he goes earlier because people want the stack, right? I mean, I've seen him go ahead of Diggs. Ball's going to be spread around, just like Jordan loves wide out. It's going to be spread around, but the wide receiver potential is very high. I mean, the ceiling is high for all of them. They're all studs. I still think Diggs has something to offer too. He got phased out of the offense last year. It isn't because he stinks. He had a couple drop passes, of course, in the playoffs. Under the spotlight, under the bright lights. Back-to-back tight ends here, Team 4, Team 5, Sam Laporta and Travis Kelce. Diggs still has something to offer a championship squad. He's still a good wide receiver. Team 6 on the clock, so we're coming up here. Yeah, man, I like the heavy wide receiver start. I understand it. There's still some really good targets out there, of course. That's how I like to roll as well. Kyron is the anchor here. I don't know about that. I understand the Blake Corum pick. I mean, Sean McVay has done this every year. He's drafted a running back, and he throws us for a loop all the time. You think it's somebody, Darrell Henderson, Sony Michel's getting touches, or Ronnie Rivers getting touches, and you think it's Cam Akers, and Kyron comes out of nowhere, diamond in the rough. I mean, Puka and Kyron. I mean, the Rams traded all their first-round picks for years to get that Super Bowl. They didn't first-round pick ever. They don't need them, I guess. But I do wonder about Kyron. I don't think he can handle that much of a workload. Without hesitation here, for me, T. Higgins. So T. Higgins is the other wide receiver that I think is going a lot later than he should. I think he deserves to be in the same tier with Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith. That's what that is. It's like a 1A, 1B type situation in Philly, slight edge to AJ, higher ceiling, but I'm really excited about Devontae Smith and Kellen Moore's offense. They didn't use any motion last year, and it's just going to be refreshing. Move Devontae Smith all over the field. He's a terrific route runner. I feel the same about Jalen Waddle with Tyreek Hill. Of course, it's 1A, 1B, but it's like definitely there's a slight gap there, of course. It's Tyreek Hill, cheat code, 1,700 yards back-to-back years in Miami, something he never did in KC. And then T. Higgins with Jamar Chase. And again, it's the same thing. The 1A is certainly a step ahead, but T. Higgins has shown us, I mean, forget last year. We can forget last year. It could be an outlier campaign, could it not? I think it could. We've seen great seasons from T. Higgins, wide receiver 2 type seasons, back-to-back 1,000-yard campaigns, 70-plus grabs, scoring touchdowns. There's no Boyd. No Mixon catching balls out of the backfield. There's some question marks who's going to step up. I have a good feeling who's going to be the slot wide receiver in Cincy. We even see some Mike Gesicki too. So Patrick Mahomes goes quick there without hesitation. I don't have too many shares of Lamar Jackson, and I do feel like there's a drop off after this. So I'm actually debating Lamar here. Alvin Kamara, start to get into a drop off at the running back position. Slightly too early for a tight end that I like. Whew. I'm really not one to draft. I'm going to go with Lamar. I'm going to switch things up a little bit here. I'm not one to draft too early on QBs. Yeah, of course I like to have Hurts and Allen and Mahomes, Lamar. It's just not my jam. Like, I usually like to live in the middle rounds, or, I mean, last year I had a lot of Brock Purdy and Jordan Love. And Brock Purdy this guy was getting drafted like quarterback 20. And Purdy is still pretty undervalued, I think. Now, if there's no Brandon Ayuk, it's going to hurt him. Right? The offense is still efficient. They got all kinds of yak monsters, but it's going to hurt. I mean, you're losing your guy who led the team in catches and yards. It's going to put a little bit of a downtick next to Purdy, and I don't think that's why he's going where he's going. This Ayuk stuff just kind of, went away, came back, went away, but he was still getting drafted in around this range of quarterback 12, 13, 14. So we got a QB. There goes Alvin Kamara. Man, really good value there for Kamara. I like this to get him as your RB2. I mean, this is a PPR league. He was RB3 in a PPR setting last year in points per game. I do like the appeal of Clint Kubiak calling plays. You already saw it. I mean, Derek Carr struggled significantly in that game, but he dropped back, under center a bunch, and guys were in motion. Olave is going to be a target hog. Like Olave is going to finish inside the top 10 in targets and volume. And Sheets already heard. A.T. Perry was playing behind dudes. Like Cedric Wilson was playing ahead of him over the weekend. Like, who's the next guy up? Juwan Johnson's hurt. Like, Kamara's going to catch 70 plus balls again. Check down Carr. CJ Stroud. I think Team 3 was hoping for CJ Stroud there. I think Team 3 was going to pull the trigger on CJ and pair him up with Diggs and have Devontae, Waddle, and Lamb there. Goes with Dalton Kincaid instead. Like Dalton Kincaid. I'm in on the breakout. That's the bill, really, that I think will eat up a lot of the volume, a lot of the targets, a lot of the end zone stuff from Gabe Davis and Stephon being gone. Dawson Knox will get in the way. He's going to be on the field. They'll both be on the field. They'll run some 2 tight end sets. They ran the ball a lot more with Joe Brady. It's a different Bills offense. I think it's going to be a better one, to be honest. I just thought the Bills were so one-dimensional over the years. I could never take them seriously. Like, they didn't even try to run the football in playoffs. They didn't even try. Didn't care to. Now you can have more of a balanced attack. I dig it. Like the Pitts call there too. I've been living in the elite tight end range. I could have went Kincaid or Pitts there over Lamar, but I thought that was just really good value with Lamar. Hurts, Allen, Mahomes, Lamar, CJ Stroud. Your top 5 quarterbacks here to begin round 4 and end round 5. So round 5 went James Cook again. This is a guy that was averaging like 3 targets and 16 carries a game down the stretch when they made the coaching change. I think that was around week 11. James Cook, Tank Dell, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson to myself, Mark Andrews, Amari Cooper, Terry McLaurin, I think is another good value. 1,000 yards. So you get 1,000 yards every year from Terry. Jaden Daniels is going to be his 12th different quarterback as we enter year 6. Think about that. Year 6 for Terry McLaurin. And Jaden Daniels will be his 12th different quarterback. Remarkable. I think he's had 1,000 yards in 4 of his 5 campaigns. He's scored touchdowns. I wonder why. Does his quarterback stink? I didn't see a whole lot from Jaden Daniels. 3 tosses. I think he overthrew Eckler on a screen pass. He is a throw he probably should have had. But then the deep ball down the sidelines too, I think it was Diami Brown, was nice. I'm excited about Terry. Alvin Kamara after. Because even if Terry can Terry get 8 touchdowns? Can he get 8? Then we just give him 8. It's like 5 every year. If we give him 8, just that, just 3 more. Is a wide receiver too. Going late 30s. Not everyone can be wide receiver 2s, right? Everyone's wide receiver 2. Like everybody. Keeping an eye on the chat. I don't think we went live on Twitter. James Conner there, Team 12, like Connor. I really do like James Conner as a target. Just making sure everything is good here. We are rolling. Dave Montgomery, Team 3, gets his first running back. Montgomery is a great target. Again, not going anywhere. RB2 type numbers. Could have some RB1 weeks. Certainly was before the injury. And score some touchdowns. For the hero RB, anchor RB type drafters like myself, I kind of like to live with, James Conner as my RB2, Dave Montgomery is my RB2, Alvin Kamara RB2. I think Mixon could put up like some RB1 type numbers. I mean, he did it last year. I think the offensive line is improved since he did improve theirs, but I think the line is solid. The offense is going to be good. Catch the balls out of the backfield. Mixon's never really been efficient, but he seems to put up RB1 type numbers all the time. Like Pacheco, Jacobs, Saquon Taylor, Love Henry. I'm fine with ETN too. I don't have a lot of shares, but you'd get like a majority of the work, the touches. I know there's been some talk about scaling them back, keeping them healthy. Tank Bigsby has a lot to prove. Got to keep the ball in his hands too. Calvin Ridley. Man, I'm excited about the Titans. Am I alone here? I'm excited about Tennessee. I love Brian Callahan. I think he's a man. I think Will Levis is a great super flex target. Hopkins, Ridley, Boyd, old third down Boyd, reliable. In Callahan's offense, he has led the team in third down receptions. All right, Ramondre goes. So, do I want another? Oh, there's Hollywood. Interesting to see where he kind of falls down to. My rankings, I'm going to go with them. And it says to draft Zamir White. Might be a touch early, but I want him. Got to get your guys. I'm in on Zamir White. There's Aaron Jones right there. Same tier for me, Aaron Jones. Yeah, the Raiders line is it's not bad. We have them ranked as a top five unit in our offensive line rankings. That may be a little bullish, but they drafted Jackson Powers Johnson. I think he won the Remington Award for the best center in college. He allowed like one pressure, so that was a good pickup. And they want to run the ball there. I got Devontae Adams too, Zamir White. It's fun. I'm fine with it. It's okay. But they want to run the ball there. Adams is still going to get his targets. I hope that it's Gardner Minshew under center. Personally, I think they'll be able to move the ball a little bit better if it is him. But Antonio Pierce really leaned on the ground game. I think it was 4 games. He averaged 100 yards on the ground, a couple catches. I mean, the pass catching upside is limited, but I think he can get 30, 35. Just not asking for too much. He can catch. They've already raved about him as a 3-down back there, and I don't really believe in Labe, and I definitely don't believe in Alexander Madison. So, people seem to, they watch White and they say, oh, nothing jumps out, and I get it, nothing really jumps out, but he was among the leaders in yards after contact last year too. And I think he's a good target. I think he's a good RB2 target. What I got working here: AJ Brown, Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams, T. Higgins, Lamar Jackson, Zamir White. So a little bit of a different squad for me. I mean, again, I don't usually have the elite quarterback. I've been going elite tight end with Kincaid and Pitts. Kincaid or Pitts. Not crazy about McBride's price. Like the player, not crazy about the price. I just don't think he should be in that tier with Laporta and Kelsey. I think Andrews is a good target too. Like, I really like Likely. I think that they're going to have to find a way to get him on the field. I do buy the reports and lining up wide and things like. I mean, he's just a freak, man. How could you not get him on the field? Right? He's just so good. We are on deck. So what kind of does feel like it would be another reach. But I gotta stay on brand. I don't think this is a reach. I'm buying what everyone's selling. Herbert will be fine. He's gonna have to deal with that foot injury all year. Lad McConkey is my 4th. I did have Hollywood ahead of him. I dropped him down a couple spots, to be honest. Hollywood seems to get hurt often. He's gonna be fine. I think it's a 4-week thing. It's a similar injury that Tyreek Hill had in 2019. Andy Reid said he missed 4 games. He may miss week 1 against Baltimore. Was that September 5th? I'd say he's not playing in that game, which is not the end of the world. Whatever. He's going to fall down draft boards. You can scoop up the value if you want. Anthony Richardson there goes in the 7th round. Again, 6-point passing touchdown. I've noticed he goes much higher in redraft. He's actually going ahead of CJ Stroud in not redraft in best ball, to the point where, man, he's been one of the biggest risers. Stroud was originally ahead of him, and they've kind of flip-flop each other in best ball. Everyone loves the rushing upside. I still think he's fairly raw as a passer myself, but I don't think he's going to get 17 rushing touchdowns, but we have him for like 8 in our projections, and we have him top 5 in terms of rushing. I think maybe in 3rd or 2nd. Tua right after. Okay. I'm not in on Tua this year. Definitely not going to give you any rushing upside, and that's not everything. I think he's better than the critics. I mean, people are all over him, but he can't. Or Tyreek sign, he doesn't even have a deep ball. He was number 1 in our advanced passing in deep ball percentage. He was number 1 in accuracy. He does have a decent deep ball. And you have to get to the dance. Don't get me wrong. You have to get to the dance. But the way Miami's schedule finishes up in the last few games of the season, it is just ugly. Cold weather games, and the games that are not cold weather, like in a dome, you play the Texans. It's going to be a tough one for him. You play San Fran. This will be a tough one for him. I think he's in Cleveland. I think he's at MetLife. I would. There's a few other guys I'd much rather have, but you get your guy. You feel like you want a guy. You like him. You get him. He might have been like quarterback 17 last year in fantasy points per game. Team 4 with Jordan Addison, and Team 3 gets RB number 2 and Tony Pollard. So like the makeup, that's what is available to you when you start that way. CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, Stephon Diggs, Dalton Kincaid, like all those targets, and with David Montgomery and Tony Pollard. I dig it. It's going to be a split backfield. I'd give the edge to Tony Pollard as like a 60-40 type thing. What I'm really interested in is the goal line work. I'd say he gets the benefit of the doubt, having like back-to-back 1,000-yard campaigns, but he was the worst back in history, maybe near the goal line. He was 2nd in red zone rushing attempts, 60. I think he was just a couple behind CMC when he had 5 touchdowns. Like one came in 2 games against the Giants. He didn't score touchdowns. He struggled in that role 2 years ago. They really missed Zeke last year in Dallas in a short yardage role. But he is a good back. He's explosive. He set career highs through the air. And like I said, man, I'm a believer in Brian Callahan, and look at the way the offense changed with Jake Browning, a lot of RPOs, and Browning was checking a lot of boxes, yards per attempt, accuracy, things like that. Brian Callahan's going to be really good for Will Levis, and you have a guy in Hopkins, you have a guy in Ridley, led the NFL in end zone targets last year, Boyd in the slot. It's going to be a fun offense. It really will. I think the defense actually may be a little underrated, but it's going to be a fun offense. So I don't mind Pollard, and I don't mind Tajay Spears. You're just going to be frustrated. Sometimes Pollard will get the touches, sometimes Spears. But if Pollard struggles again in that role, then, Spears may take it over. It was an interesting signing. I just felt like they had a back that plays a lot like Tony Pollard and Spears. But it's nothing wrong with having those 2 backs. I think it's a good thing. It's not great for fantasy, but it's a good thing to rotate like that. Montgomery and Gibbs and Pollard and Spears. Chase Brown goes here. Chase Brown has really, really jumped up draft boards. They're going to pass the ball a lot in Cincy. They're among the leaders in pass percentage. They're going to throw the football quite a bit. I don't think Brown's built to have like 12, 15 carries a game. I think Zach Moss will have more carries than him. He may even have that goal line role. But Chase Brown is fun, man. Shout out to Jay Morrison. He joined me on Mean Streets a couple years ago. It was, last year before the rookie campaign, Chase Brown. I wanted to talk up Chris Evans. There was some Mixon stuff going on, and I knew Mixon eventually was going to leave. And I think I was like selfishly asking for the people, but also for my dynasty squad. I wanted to talk up Chris Evans. He was like, man, Chase Brown. Didn't touch the ball a lot, but when he did, he made things happen. And he's gonna be the 3rd down back. He's gonna catch a lot of passes. Think about all those those receptions Mixon's had over the years. Yeah, I like Chase Brown, but man, he has really jumped up here over the past couple weeks. Teammates are talking him up. You got to draft him. You got to draft him. So even though I have Lamar, there's still some quarterbacks that I really like. I really like in this range, but obviously I'm not going to do it. But that's what my thinking is on waiting at the quarterback position. Wow, Hollywood falls to the 8th round. Team 3 scooping it up. It's almost like you know what you're doing. Jameson Williams, I wanted him. Wanted JMO. Like the high upside there. And if you're going to do it, I think getting him as like your 5th wide receiver is the way to go. You know, at best, he's the 4th option behind Gibbs. He's going to catch balls out of the backfield. You got Amara Laporta. But I think he's ready. I'm going to go Ferguson here. I think he's ready to explode. I really do. You can kind of sense it at the end of last season. You can kind of feel it coming towards the end of last year and then into the playoffs and against the Niners in the NFC Championship game. He had a receiving touchdown, had a rushing touchdown. He's a weapon. He's going to be like Deshaun Jackson, where he may only catch, 50 to 65 balls, but he's getting over 1,000 yards. He's going to get tons of 40-yard touchdowns, right? They start running the play action with those backs. And all the guys that you have to worry about, boom, JMO, busted coverage, down the field. Can see it now. I'm here for it. I am in. And this is just a different year because year 1, right? He tore his ACL in college in the national championship game. So he didn't play until week 13, and he just wasn't part of the offense. And he didn't touch, I think he had 1 catch. And then the suspension, the 6-game suspension. So it's just year 3 here with the team, different vibes, opening. Yeah. I'm in on JMO. And I think, as I said, you don't want him as your 3rd wide receiver. I think you want him as if you can get him as your 5th, awesome. Get him as your 4th. Okay. The team 8, I'm feeling the it's a high upside squad. It's a high upside squad. If I do this, my backs will be thin. But guess what? My backs are just going to be thin. I believe in the hype. This is a player that's rising up draft boards too. Actually, I probably should roll. There's a drop off at RB. I'll shoot for some upside later. I'm going to go Raheem Mostert here. I'll tell you who I was debating once he goes. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I don't think it's going to change anyone's opinion in this draft room. There goes the RB run. Yeah, I felt like I had to get involved again with Raheem Mostert as my RB3. Heck, I mean, I'd be comfortable with him as my RB2. There's another guy like Montgomery I just don't think is going anywhere. They extended him, and I understand he's not going to have 20 some odd touchdowns again. And I understand a Chan is a guy you want to get the ball to, and right, you drafted him, but he is just not going anywhere. Raheem Mostert. He is the veteran on this squad. He is the guy that can handle all those carries. He might miss a game or two. People are expecting the injury. That's what it all is, right? They're expecting a Chan, maybe not to do what he did last year, to take a step forward, and then Mostert to take a step back. But I'd rather have Mostert. Yeah, extending him. I mean, that was the first thing that Mike McDaniel did he not? When he went to Miami, he called his old buddy Shanahan and said, "We're going to sign Raheem Mostert." And they told, "Yo, we're going to use you the same way we used you in San Fran, same scheme." And he's like, "Hell yeah, hell yeah, I'm on board." I mean, McDaniel is his whole career he spent with Shanahan. So Mostert, Jonathan Brooks, Tajay Spears, Brian Robinson. I think that all those guys are pretty good targets. The Jonathan Brooks, again, pairing him up with a Chan. It's a high upside squad, is it not? Jameson Williams, DeAndre Swift, Josh Allen, Devonta Chan, Puka, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Teammate has a high upside squad. we won't see Brooks until week 4 or week 5. I think they'll just be easy on him. I think like next year, it's like, okay. And he may be one of those guys that balls out at the end of the year in his rookie campaign, just like Cam Akers and Javonte Williams did in their rookie campaigns. Those guys had to battle, and then they took over their backfields late. I think Cam Akers that rookie season dealt with some injuries, but Javonte had to battle Melvin Gordon and then eventually took over. Dave Canales really leaned on Rachaad White, but I just don't think he's going to do that to Jonathan Brooks in his first year coming off an ACL injury like that. But he is, I think, the most talented running back from the class. I think he's the only guy that has true bell cow potential, 3-down potential. I think Marshawn Lloyd does too, but health has been it's just been a thing for him, unfortunately, for the past few years. But yeah, they can lean on Chuba Hubbard. Miles Sanders probably won't touch the ball too much, and then Jonathan Brooks, takes over there. Team 3 gets first quarterback, and Dak Prescott. Zach Moss falls to the 9th. Now Moss it's kind of become the value, right? Between the two, it was Chase Brown, Zach Moss. These guys were right beside each other for most of July and into August. Now we see Chase Brown in the 7th, Zach Moss in the 9th. Team 4 with the second RB has a start with Breece Hall, Nico Collins, Brendan Ayuk, Sam Laporta, CJ Stroud, Christian Kirk, Jordan Addison, Xavier Worthy, and Zach Moss. I like the value in Ayuk, man. I don't think he's getting traded. If he does go to Pittsburgh, it will be, of course, a down tick, and certainly would for George Pickens. It'd be a win for everybody else in the NFC, I'll tell you that. A big part of their offense. Kyler Murray. So Jordan Love went at the end of the 8th. He's been my guy. Probably out of all the drafts, my most shares at the quarterback position is probably Jordan Love. I have a little bit of A-Rich. I have some Kyler. I think Dak is a good value too. He's quarterback 3 in fantasy points per game. There's a lot of ways that this season could just go completely sour for the Cowboys. But as long as CD is on the field, Micah Parsons, Dak, he says his ankle's 100%. He's going to return to practice Tuesday. They need to get this figured out with CD. They really do. Like, this guy's got to be on the field practicing catching passes. On week 1 pulling hammies. Ugh. Got the Dak, CD Lamb attack there, the stack attack from Team 3. Kyler, Caleb Williams. I thought Caleb Williams is great. I mean, pairing him up with Hurts, I think it's a little early for me. Again, this is not best ball. You definitely want to have a couple quarterbacks, but that's I don't know. It's a touch early since you already drafted Jalen so early. You're just going to start Jalen ahead of Caleb all the time, unless something happens, an injury happens to Jalen. But Caleb did look really good over the weekend. I know his 4th, 5th string defense, Bills, blah blah blah. At least he did it. There's Shakir. So that's who I was thinking about when I went Raheem Mostert. Little vino on this Monday. We're into round 10. We are high stakes drafting here at FTN Fantasy. We are rocking and rolling into the 10th round. Yeah, so Caleb Williams, I mean, they threw every kind of coverage at him. Takes the defense, gives him rushes for 13 yards. So it's nice. Escape the pocket. Like, he's got so much poise in the pocket. Escape the pocket. Just throw on the run, right on the numbers to Cole Kmet. Right? He could drop it in a bucket. I like it. I think it could be your QB1. Looking back, would team 1 go like Pickens or Diggs and then roll with Caleb? I know he's a rookie. There's some uncertainty. Everybody's not going to be CJ Stroud. Everyone's not going to be Puka. Everyone's looking for that next dude, right? Who's going to be this year's Puka? I mean, maybe no one. Probably no one. I'll toss out some targets towards the end if that's the feel. Like what late round wide receiver. And if you guys hung out with me last year, you had a lot of Puka. He was our most owned wide receiver in best ball leagues. And CJ Stroud was our most owned quarterback. Dalton Schultz was our most owned tight end. It was really cooking towards the end of the season. Then Stroud missed a game or two. I think Schultz missed some time as well, right when it mattered most. I had a squad there near the end. CJ Stroud and Puka. I think that McConkey could be, and like again, he's going in the 7th round, and he's not like a late round pick, and he's not like a out of nowhere type guy. But I think that, like, in terms of looking for a rookie that could have a ton of volume, he's one of them. All right, I am on deck. So I don't know if I really need to go another back because I went Raheem Mostert, but there's a couple backs here that I don't mind if they were my third RB, but we'll live in the wide receiver room here. I don't like to draft dudes that have hammy issues already. But instead I'm going to draft a guy that is just has dealt with his fair share of injuries and may not be ready to go to start the season, but I actually don't mind taking a shot on Mike Williams. I know what you're saying. I know, I can hear you. It's either that or Nick Chubb, who's hurt. He immediately goes into my lineup as my RB2. He's probably better than Kyron when he returns, and he's like 75% Nick Chubb. I'm going to take Mike Williams here because I didn't really go as heavy wide receiver as I would have liked to start. You know, I mixed in Lamar. I'll go with Mike Williams. I mean, he's had a schedule. He may only play 12 games, but you can't tell me when he's not healthy, we won't be ranking him as at least a wide receiver 3. I mean, he's going to be behind Garrett Wilson. Oh, I like the Darnell Mooney pick. I didn't know it would be that early. People get their guys, and I respect that. Mooney was on my short list. He's just a couple years removed from a 1,000-yard campaign. I like Kirk Cousins. Talked about Zach Robinson. He's familiar with the Sean McVay, offense, Kevin O'Connell offense. Mooney could kind of be like that Jordan Addison deep threat, bust coverage, attention on Pitts, attention on London, very accurate quarterback. I like it. I don't think that he's going this early because of Rondale Moore. Rondale Moore wasn't going to be anything in that Falcons offense. And they don't even play Mooney's the deep threat guy in that offense. Moore was going to play in the slot. Raymond McLeod might be that guy now, but yeah, I like Mooney. I have him aggressively ranked, but I don't think I've seen him go this high. But I dig it. Team 11 with the RB start, then hammered some wide receivers. So Taylor Gibbs and then DJ Moore, Flowers, Dell, Joe Burrow, Christian Watson, Javonte Williams, Dallas Goedert, Darnell Mooney. Just the end of the 10th round, Blake Corum. Team 12 is a Marvin Harrison Jr., Drake London start with Pacheco Jacobs and James Cook. Back into wide receivers with JSN, Brian Thomas, Jordan Love, Brock Powers, and Blake Corum. Go ahead, Team 12. Okay. That was going to go after a Packer. You are on deck. All right. There, Nick Chubb goes, so that saves me from just having another share of Nick Chubb. I mean, you can't have too many shares. Right? You can't have too many shares. I want to be all in on a player you may not see until October. But it's like Mike Williams, and these guys are healthy, they're ready to go. I'm ranking Mike Williams as a wide receiver 2. Top 24 guy. I will be. Maybe I'll only get 5 wide receiver 2 type games from him, but as my 5th, I'm all right with that. Brock Purdy's still there. This is kind of, I'm not comparing him and Lamar, but he's quarterback 5, quarterback 6 in fantasy points per game last season. That's why waiting sometimes is not the end of the world. Jaden Daniels is a great value in round 10, I think. So Rashid Shaheed is still there. Jerry Jeudy, don't mind. Jahan Dotson, I like. But we're going to go with another back, and we'll probably just forget about it for a bit. I'm going to take Zeke. I'm going to take Zeke. I actually don't mind Rico Dowdle either. I think, they're just going to roll with these two guys. I think Zeke's going to be the goal line back there. His last season in Dallas, he looked slow, and he still had double-digit touchdowns. He didn't catch a lot of passes because Pollard was catching everything, but I think he could go back to catching 40, 45 passes. I think he can have 10 touchdowns. Wouldn't be shocked. Like, even if Dallas takes a step back, and they will offensively, they beat up on a lot of awful teams, especially at home. Their schedule's tougher. They have a tougher schedule this year. But Zeke should be that goal line back. I mean, I'm not surprised to hear reports out of Dallas that, Rico Dowdle will be the team's leading rusher. I mean, when you watch them both, you're like, duh. Zeke is does seem pretty much washed, but he's good in pass protection. He's obviously going to know the system. He's going to catch some balls out of the backfield. He's going to get goal line opportunities. So I don't know. What do I project for Zeke? 700, 800 yards. I think he could get to 700, 800 yards. 40, 45 catches, 12 touchdowns. Maybe not 12. They can get 8 or 9. Would not be shocked with 10. He's him and Raheem Mostert, Spears, Gus Edwards, Tony Pollard, James Conner, Dave Montgomery, Kamara. I like Chase Brown. It's a little early, but like Chase Brown. These are all decent, Zamir White. I think these are all pretty good targets for those that draft wide receiver heavy, right? To live with some of these guys. Connor Montgomery can put up RB1 numbers. I think Pollard would be a solid 2. I think Spears will put up some RB2 numbers. Kamara, I think, could be RB1 in a PPR format. He can be top 12. That's with even Taysom Hill having 20 some odd red zone rushing attempts. You see the way they used him? Clint Kubiak, man. He took a couple carries. He, I think he twice lined up in line, out wide a couple times in the slot. I'm just going to use him as a weapon. And that's why Kamara's going where he's going, because he's going to steal a lot of red zone rushing attempts from him. Jalen Wright as RB4 for team 3. So yeah, I think, at this point you're shooting for some upside, some high ceiling guys, kind of next man up, good offenses. I like the Rico Dowdle, Jalen Wright, Zeke. Charbonnet is a good back. New regime there, so we'll see. Like, Kenneth Walker's been talked up quite a bit from McDonald, but they were really pass happy last year. I think more pass happy than people expect. I think they were 5th in pass percentage in neutral game script over at ftnfantasy.com. Use our pace tools. FTN 15. Save yourself a little bit of cash. There goes Brock Purdy. Right, like, I think he's a quarterback 1, and I get it. That's part of it. There's the tier is really long. There's always quarterbacks that pop up. You want that high ceiling quarterback. Maybe he certainly doesn't have the first tier. The Lamar, the Allen, the Hurts. I would not be shocked if he had more passing yards or passing touchdowns than CJ Stroud. Stroud's going to have more pass attempts, and I just have talked about passing more. He's not going to have as many pass attempts, but the efficiency, right, among the leaders in yards per attempt, I think he was first. Completion percentage, year 2 in Shanahan's system. This would be year 2, right? He came out of nowhere for Jimmy G. Last year, this time, they were talking about Trey Lance. Trey Lance was going ahead of him in best ball. And then he got traded to Dallas, and then it was like, okay, well, then we'll just draft Purdy. My goodness. And all those yak monsters. I still don't think I'm thinking about quarterback 2. There's still some guys I like Goff. I like T-Law. I don't mind Stafford. I like Will Levis. I'll definitely get a second one, but none of these guys will even consider starting over Lamar when he's healthy. And if I lose Lamar, then that's just going to sting. See some people hanging out. Smash the like button if you don't mind. Any questions? By all means, leave them there. We answer them here on the show. You are watching a special edition of Mean Streets here, live on our FTN YouTube page. We are drafting over at NFFC. High stakes leagues. This is the 350 Rotowire online championship. Top 2 in each league pay, including $1,500 first place. There's a $250K grand prize overall. Expecting close to 4,800 teams for this contest. Check out playnffc.com for all the contest details and all the contests that are available. And this is, I think, stream number 2. We're going to do a couple more of these. Maybe another one next week, another one in a week, maybe 2 or 3 more. Going to start to pump out some content here on Mean Street. It's been live every day at SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, FTN Fantasy from 1 to 3. Myself and Dane Martinez, Jake Seeley. So we've been covering a lot of fantasy football content over there. If you have SiriusXM, the app, you can always listen on demand in the app. Just search FTN Fantasy. All the team previews are right there, available for people as well to check out. All righty then. I don't actually have a lot of AD Mitchell shares. Troy Flankham, Marvin Mims. I actually do like pull early. I'll rock AD. 1, 2, 3, 4. I got to count on Mike Williams missing some time. AD Mitchell, don't have a ton of shares of AD Mitchell. I think he could be like the AJ Brown in Shane Steichen's offense, but he's not the same player. Don't get me wrong. He will see a lot of one-on-one. Once Downs is back and healthy in the slot, Michael Pittman is the short intermediate type of route runner there, and AD's going to see a lot of one-on-one, right? He's going to be the guy that Anthony Richardson throws it to deep, the deep ball, the deep shot. It will be that guy, AD Mitchell, and he could make some things happen inside the end zone as well. But it is going to be a run-first offense, with Steichen, a lot of RPOs and run the ball with Taylor and Anthony Richardson. Didn't see those two together at all last year, I don't think, Rich and Taylor. A lot of stack boxes, right? They played up-tempo, quickest team in football last year. That may change. That may change a little with Richardson. He'll play 4 games. So I'm still not in on a second quarterback. There are some that I like, but all good. So this is the time of drafts where, I don't know. I don't really care about reaching, or I just like to get the guys that I want to get, that I like. So I'll do that. I like Kendrick Miller as a player. I don't think things are going to be good for him this year, but I think in a dynasty league, you can buy low on him. It could be a situation like Zamir White. He falls into a better situation. Kamara goes away. Jamal Williams is late in his career. We are into round 13. It may be a decent time to take a second quarterback. It's close. It's close to me. Some guys I could live with as my 2. I'm starting Lamar all the time. You know what I mean? But I may roll with a second. I didn't expect to have Lamar. It does feel nice when you get an elite quarterback, but your team doesn't. There goes Taysom Hill. There goes Taysom. So there is a slight drop off after. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do quarterback. Roll with Jaleel McLaughlin here as my 5th running back. It's a very crowded running back room. I'm not super excited about this pick, but I think that there is a possibility. There goes Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins. So there goes the quarterback 2s, and I kind of get it. Especially if I was Jaden Daniels, if I drafted Jaden. I think even Richardson here, I would be into. He does need to protect himself. He's not Cam Newton. Tua, I'd be looking for another quarterback. Like Tua is a guy like start and sit stuff I do that you probably read. He's a guy that could easily see myself sitting. Right, cold weather games, defense that can get after a quarterback. Not going to want him come playoff time. Anthony Richardson, you just roll. Damian Pierce. So there goes Herbert. Makes sense, right? Get the quarterback paired up there with Tua. Get the quarterback paired up there with Jaden Daniels in case of an injury or he struggles as a passer. Don't expect him to lose his job. Goff with Allen. That's who I was thinking about. Goff. I think Goff and T-Law are good quarterback twos. I think both could be quarterback ones. I mean, Goff, the splits, the home and away splits. I mean, he's in a dome 14 games this year, 14 of 17. Like two of the playoff games are tough for Jared Goff. But it's good offense and play a lot of games in the dome. It just so happens most of his road games are in a dome. So, I mean, that's okay. Like, again, I'm rolling with Lamar. Lamar gets hurt. You have somebody that's a borderline QB1 to cover your bases, but you still have some dudes. Jalen Polk was the other guy that I was thinking about instead of Jaleel McLaughlin, silly me thinking there was a possibility that he could be there when it comes back, but everyone's super sharp here. Back-to-back New England Patriots wide receivers there, team 4, Jalen Polk, and team 3 with Demario Douglas. I don't expect to see a lot of Drake May. I think that Drake May should be given the same opportunities that Milton just got. You have to prepare your franchise quarterback. You can't just throw him in if Jacoby Brissett gets hurt week 6 and just toss him in there having no reps. You have to give him reps. You have to give him time to develop, of course. And I understand not playing. I don't think that he's ready. Drake May, that is. And the offensive line is not great. These weapons are not great. There's a lot of young wide receivers. They just released Juju Smith-Schuster. There's not a ton of experience on this squad. I get rolling out Jacoby Brissett, but you also want to try to, got to give some reps. You have to Drake May. I expect him to see the same amount of work that Milton just received in that preseason game last week. All right, we're into round 14. Dalton Schultz. So second tight end with George Kittle. All right, this is the time some people are going to be taking the second tight end. Team 2 goes with Khalil Herbert. Team 3, Antonio Gibson. Should cut into what Ramondre Stevenson does really well is catch balls out of the backfield. This is a former, wide receiver converted running back. There's, these guys can be on the same field, same time. Gibson and Stevenson, they can line them up in the slot, out wide at times. It's possible, right? Especially if they're not getting anything from anyone else. Jalen Polk did play behind like a bunch of dudes in New England, but I really like him as a target. Him and Demario, I think, are good targets. It's not going to be a good team. They're going to be one of the worst, if not the worst team in football this year, offensively. Defense is still strong. But, dudes are going to catch passes. Come on. They're going to get targets anyways. Braylon Allen, we're shooting for upside here, ladies and gentlemen, in this point of the draft. Yeah, as for McLaughlin, I don't know. P. Ryan could get cut. I mean, Javonte Williams could be a surprise cut. P. Ryan's on the final year of his deal. Audric Estime is a goal line potential type of running back. Ravens defense, their team 7. Something I would never consider doing this early in the draft. But again, I'm not saying it's bad strategy. This is not for me. Let's get back into the wide receiver room. Maybe not. You want to talk about a reach? Isaiah Likely. I'm excited about him. Yeah. We already know he's got top 5 upside at the position should anything happen to Mark Andrews, but they're just going to find a way to get him on the field. They didn't do anything really at the wide receiver position. I don't believe in Bateman. I like Flowers. I don't believe in Bateman. He's going to line up wide. He's going to be on the field same time as Andrews at times. He's just too good not to get him snaps, and especially in the red zone. I have more best ball shares than him than redraft or high stakes, but because I don't know, like, I mean, he's getting on the field enough to be, in your starting lineup as a tight end 1. But after like Ferguson and Freiermuth, Brock Bowers, I'm kind of fading guys like Goddard and Njoku and Schultz and Komet. Taysom Hill's a guy I think that you can just roll with, right? You hope that he scores a touchdown for you. Isn't that all it is anyways? Tight end position after the first few. I like to live in the elite range this year. I didn't get one, but Ferguson is kind of the cutoff for me. I mean, he led all tight ends in red zone targets last year. So, I mean, you hope for if you're Dallas, CD's on the field, Jake may fall into a bunch of targets. I like to live in the Kits and geez, maybe I should lay off the vino. Pitts and Kincaid. Ingram's a volume hog. He should continue to be one. Maybe he gets more red zone looks with Verdley gone, but I think, Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas lead up a lot of those. There is definitely something to be said about having that elite defense as the Jets go off the board here, end of 14th, Ravens and Jets off the board. So some pretty good, like, I don't know about pretty good, but there's still some decent targets out there late. And everyone's super sharp, so you kind of have to go get them if you want them. I am up. I did have Kamani Vidal in my queue. Second QB. Nah. This might be a boring, unsexy pick, but I like Demarcus Robinson. Do I like him more than Troy Franklin? Probably. I know Franklin played behind a bunch of dudes, and it's nice to see Tim Patrick out there and Josh Reynolds. Those guys, like Reynolds is a veteran that may just not leave the field. I'm going to go with Demarcus Robinson. He's pretty good down the stretch. He's, past Tutu Atwell. They run a lot of 3 wide. Of course, like it's all Cup and it's all Puka, but I think he had like a touchdown, like 4 of his final 5 games. Decent playoff game there too. I mean, again, I'm shooting for upside. Good quarterbacks, good play callers, good offenses. AJ Brown, Devontae Adams, T. Higgins, Lad McConkey, Mike Williams, A.D. Mitchell, Demarcus Robinson. This is a bit of a different wide receiver room than I'm used to having. I do have a lot of Lad shares as my 4th or 5th wide receiver. My first Mike Williams share. I wish I did this a little bit earlier. I think, a week ago I could have got him around now, but is what it is. There's definitely wide receiver 2 upside still in his game. A.D. Mitchell and Demarcus Robinson. I got Ferguson with Likely. I have Lamar Jackson. My running back room is Kyron, Zamir White, Raheem Mostert, Zeke, and Julian McLaughlin. That's all right. I have a lot of these like shares of Mostert and Elliott as like RB3s, 4s, or 4s and 5s. It seemed like sexy picks, but not bad. Cowboys and Niners. So defense number 3 and defense number 4. Again, shooting for upside here. We are in round 15. We'll hang on. We'll finish this draft. Why not? See how we can round this out. Team 3. May heard of him. It is Nelson. It is our guy. Franchise, Nelson Souza. He told me he's okay to share it. He says he does enough of these streams. His article just came out today on some of his favorite targets round by round. It's pretty good. He's super sharp. We'll got to get him on Main Streets. This is one of the guys in his article, Jordan Mason. CMC is not going to play until week 1, and he's been hurt before. Elijah Mitchell, he's been hurt before, and he's currently hurt. Jordan Mason. Again, in this point of the draft, you were shooting for upside. You were shooting for, I think, running backs that have roles like Ty Chandler and Antonio Gibson is like third down pass catching running backs. And other guys that, could step up need be in good offenses. Jordan Mason, San Fran, Jalen Warren, Miami. Montgomery and Pollard. Love the start. CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, and Stephon Diggs with Dalton Kincaid. Pretty good. Pretty good. Team 1 takes a third quarterback in Baker Mayfield. Jalen Hurts, Caleb Williams, and Baker Mayfield. Team 2 is Kyler and Purdy. Team 3 on the clock now has Dak, and that is it. Team 4, CJ Stroud. Team 5 went with Tua in the 7th and Justin Herbert in 13th. Plantar fasciitis for Justin Herbert. He's going to have to deal with that all year. He can run. Dude can run. I thought maybe we see some more, like Colin Kaepernick with, Harbaugh. But Harbaugh and Roman, these guys, they want to run the football. Joe Alt, first-round pick. Roman brings his Ravens guys over, and Dobbins and Gus Edwards. I think Gus Edwards is a great target, and I think that Dobbins is worth a flyer, man. Where'd he go here? Round 12 as your, RB4 here. Brees Hall, Zach Moss, Dowdle, Dobbins, and then Irving, Estime, Shipley. So taking some high upside rookies. Shipley catching balls of the backfield, receiving touchdown. I don't think it's just going to immediately be him. Kenneth Gainwell, if something happens, Saquon be mixing with these guys, but I like Shipley. Audric Estime, right? Very crowded. Could carve himself out a goal line role, short yardage type back there. Bucky Irving, I think, is going to cut into a little bit of Rashad White has done or will do. Yeah, so, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 backs. Could get my second quarterback. Oh, first kicker. Okay. First kicker. Dante Foreman, Gainwell, Justice Hill, Sanders, Lave. You could do Lave. Just to kind of... Madison is there too. Troy Franklin I was already thinking about, so actually probably will go with Franklin. I was thinking about with Demarcus Robinson. Do I care that he played with Bo Nix? No, not really. The wide receiver room is weak. I think that Marvin Mims is going to be a rotational type dude. And I think Cortland Sutton and Reynolds and Patrick will play ahead, certainly Sutton ahead of Franklin. But Patrick, back-to-back years being hurt, Reynolds is old. Maybe Franklin, finds himself a role here immediately as a rookie. I think I liked Bo Nix, what I saw from him. He's got a lot of accuracy. He's 60 some odd starts in college. It's a lot of experience. He's 70%, I think 70+% completion rate. I think Sean Payton can do some things with him too. Mobile, he can run a bit. He may not be that bad. I don't know if he's going to be fantasy relevant. Certainly not this year. He may be all right for some of these guys like Sutton and for Troy Franklin. Tyler Boyd, end of the second, and to start, or end of the 16th rather, and to start the 17th, we have Clyde Edwards-Helaire pairing him up with Isaiah Pacheco. Get the Chiefs backfield there. I wasn't thinking about Corum as a Kyron owner here. I think it's just a little bit too rich around 10. I don't really like to handcuff my backs. I think if you're, investing in Brees Hall, Braylon Allen makes sense. I am up. Okay. Second quarterback probably is the Will Levis just went. Bummer. Bummer. I'll get a second one here that I feel comfortable starting every week. if I need to. That's Stafford. I did want Will Levis. I was thinking about Will there. Talked him up earlier. And on the Titans. So where did some of these handcuffs, like we're seeing the handcuffs now, right? Like, ETN, Tank Bigsby, Braylon Allen. The Brees Hall owner could have went Braylon Allen there. Instead decided Bucky Irving. The thing with handcuffs, I certainly get it if you're, CMC, Elijah Mitchell, the owner has Elijah Mitchell. Tyler Algier is a little bit expensive for Bijan. I think Shipley makes sense with Saquon. I think that Allen makes sense with Brees Hall. I think Justice Hill makes some sense with Derrick Henry. Bigsby makes sense with ETN. It's like that next man up. But the thing with handcuffs, like it is a wasted bench spot. It's a waste. If your guy that you drafted early is playing all year, then you're not going to play that guy. And when, an injury happens to somebody else in your squad where you hit the waiver wire, that's the guy you're dropping. I like to handcuff other people's running backs. And if an injury happens to those backs, all of a sudden you have yourself somebody that's like, boom, let's go. Maybe it's a trade chip. Maybe you don't have trades in your league like this. You just roll with the guys, and you can never have too many running backs that you can plug in, because injuries are going to happen, and they're certainly going to happen to the position. So Blake Corum to me in the 10th is just, it's a little high. Like, give me a high upside wide receiver instead, or a running back. I mean, Raheem Mostert, Zeke, these guys that I went another way. All right, so how many defenses are gone here? We have the Ravens. Steelers are one that I liked. They're kind of rising up draft boards a little bit. I have a few shares of the Steelers. I think, too, like Cordero Patterson adds a little bit of a wrinkle, special teams wrinkle there to the Steelers. So Ravens first, Jets second. Cowboys, I think, will take a step back. I mean, they had some picks over the week, though, didn't they, over the weekend? 49ers and then Steelers. Your kickers, Baltimore and Dallas. We just wrapped up round 17. Some of the quarterbacks that have gone lately, let's see, up around 13, Trevor Lawrence, Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, Justin Herbert. Deshaun Watson, he's cleared now, joint practices this week with the Vikings. He's expected to play in the final preseason for Cleveland. I don't think we'll ever see the same sort of Watson that you did in Houston. Interested to see like what their offense is going to be like, because of course when Chubb went down, they passed. Chubb went down first. I think it was week 2, and then Watson goes down week 6 or 7, whatever it was, and then Flacco. Their pass percentage is through the roof. They're just such a pass happy squad. I think number 1 in pass percentage. But when there goes my target, Isubash. Dang. Everyone's super sharp here. I know he's buried. He's buried down the list. I was interested. I thought about him instead of Stafford and Franklin and Demarcus Robinson, to be honest with you. I think he's going to win that role as the slot wide receiver. Tyler Boyd was the leading third down receiver for the Bengals. He leaves along with Brian Callahan for Tennessee, and EC Voss. I think he's just going to be in the slot, dude. He's going to be locked in. Of course, behind Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, but T. Higgins is, I have him. Yeah, I'm rooting for a healthy season, but there's been some injuries past couple of years. Jamar Chase, like this guy wants a contract. It's going to be a pass-happy squad. I think that's why part of the Chase Brown appeal is like, oh, dude's going to catch some passes, right? It's going to be a pass-happy squad. They're going to throw the football a lot. So some decent options here still. Jermaine Burton just goes. He had a big preseason game, but he's like, I don't think we'll see him be fantasy relevant until like if something happened in Chase or T. Higgins. But I really like him from a dynasty standpoint too. I think that was that's a good get if you can get him. Linked to Joe Burrow, and I don't know, man. Like Chase, I think is definitely going to get paid, but I don't know about Higgins. Let's go with Labe here with Samir White. Again, just kind of shooting for upside and maybe some cheap handcuffs. after just talking about not handcuffing. Again, you can do it in certain situations. It's just the expensive handcuffs I can't get behind, like Algier and Corum. I just can't do it. Probably time to really start thinking about the defense. I just have a defense and kicker, really. Still so many guys I like. Still some dudes out there that I like, but we'll see. I can mention them after. I'm sure they'll get scooped up here. Bills, Eagles are so poor last year in the secondary. Quinton Mitchell looks like a stud. Bills go, Dolphins. Raiders can get after the quarterback. Like, they're not an awful defense. There goes the Eagles. I think the Bears are I think they're going to be a good defense too. Lions. I'm going to roll with Chi-Town. I'm going to roll with Chi-Town. Their defense really changed when they acquired Montez Sweat. There goes Aaron Rodgers. At least their run defense, it became much better after that. The Steelers are, I think, a really good target. I think the Texans are a good target. They went a little earlier. The Chiefs, of course, even with Jerry Sneed gone, pretty solid. The Saints, not bad. Okay. The Lions, okay. Secondary was pretty awful last year. All right, so I like the team kickers. Shout out NFFC team kickers. I've been just losing kickers and defenses in a majority of my leagues, but I think there's certainly some strategy behind both. I mean, especially if it's team kicker, certainly definitely some strategy defense. And I like to hold a couple of them, a little bit maybe later on in the season, kind of cover your bases. I see team 7 with Baltimore and Cleveland. That's just wild to me. If you're listening, my bad. Like your team, like the start, Jefferson, Olave, Pittman, McBride, Cooper, Godwin. Godwin's great value. Chase Brown is the RB1, Jalen Warren, Tajay Spears, pass catching running backs. I'm pretty thin at running back. And then just drafting 2 defenses, I don't know. Like, you play the matchups, you just play Baltimore every week. Triple crown, right? Didn't they have the triple crown last year? Sacks, takeaways, and fewest points allowed per game. It's just like you're always going to want to play Baltimore, and like it just kind of feels like a waste to have Cleveland too. But certainly have two of the top defenses in the NFL, right? You can play the matchups if you want. Maybe you don't want to start Baltimore against Mahomes week 1. You want to start Cleveland at home. I think playing Dak. I get it. All right. Team 3 with Justin Fields as the QB2. Like it. Not sure we see him, but Russell Wilson is he's a little bit older, right? He's not 100% himself. Fields, of course, we know as like QB1 upside. And if that change does happen, it could happen towards the end of the season. The schedule is really tough towards the end of the season. Like, that's the best division in sports, let alone football. A lot of divisional games there down the stretch for that team. I think they got mixed in. The Steelers got the Eagles and Chiefs mixed in with, the Browns and the Ravens and the Bengals a couple times. Bengals don't have a great defense, but still divisional matchup. Saints defense there. So we're on the board here for a kicker. I mean, whatever, right? But if I can get a high scoring team in a dome, that's ideal for me. I see a team defense that is high in my rankings, like top 10. That is like in the 20s here, it seems. in terms of rankings. And they just signed this kid who looks like a baller. He does. He played for Arkansas last year. It's a little bit of a hint. And he kicks bombs. Dude kicks bombs. We are live drafting here. We're just wrapping up in round 20. So, I mean, you got McPherson, dude can kick, but nah. Colts in a dome. Nah, I'm going with the Lions. Jake Bates. Remember the name Jake Bates. Dude can kick bombs. And as I mentioned, Detroit is in a dome 14 times this season. So that's the draft. We ended up with a team that looks like this. A.J. Brown from the 9 spot. Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams, T. Higgins, Lamar Jackson, Zamir White, Lad McConkey, Jake Ferguson, Raheem Mostert, Mike Williams, Zeke, Adonai Mitchell, Jaleel McLaughlin, Isaiah Likely, Demarcus Robinson, Troy Franklin, Matthew Stafford, Dylan Labe, Chicago Bears defense, and the Detroit Lions as my team kicker with Jake Bates. So this team is okay. I mean, I'll be honest. I would tell you if I loved it. I'd like it. Brown and Devontae and Higgins, I think I got, a solid 3. I am a little thin at wide receiver than I'd like to be. I really like to go wide receiver early and often. I think looking back, could I trade in Lamar Jackson, for a Godwin? And then I don't mind what I did here. Looking at this draft just a little bit more, I do like the value that's at the quarterback position. Whether this is Brock Purdy in the 12th, I'd be comfortable with him as my QB1. Dak Prescott here as my QB1 in the 9th. Jaden Daniels in the 10th. I like what Team 7 did, just in case he's a rookie. Maybe, he doesn't run as much. I think, he had a design run for a touchdown in the preseason there. There's going to be a lot of design runs there for him, and Cliff Kingsbury is going to set him up to have success. But pairing him up with a Kirk Cousins, you got the 2 Achilles guys there. So, you hope one of their Achilles holds up. Both, of course, you're hoping for. But one of the 2. In Cousins and Rodgers, just in case things get a little dicey. Who knows? You may even end up starting Kirk Cousins at the beginning of the year. I know he's in Philly, week 2 home opener. Probably ain't going to want to do with that. Rodgers week 1 San Fran. So thinking ahead here, but Jaden Daniels probably gets the start for Team 7 there, but who knows? But yeah, Jared Goff, I think he's a borderline QB1. Having Josh Allen there, it's a good 1-2 punch, in case anything happens to Allen. You have Goff, as I mentioned, the dome games is why I think he's a borderline QB1. Amon-Ra and Gibbs and Laporta and all these guys, Jameson Williams, I believe in the breakouts. So, I mean, I'm fine with the elite quarterback, but that's what's different about this team, and that's why it feels different for me. And that's why I say I don't think my wide receivers are as deep or strong. But I thought that was pretty decent value there for Lamar after Hurts and Allen and Mahomes go ahead. So, yeah, I mean, my backs are fine. I do believe Kyron will be okay. I think they will scale back a touch just because of his makeup and what happened last year when they gave him all those touches. They draft Blake Corum, but I don't think Corum's going to really cut in all that much. I don't think he's ever going to really be a 10 carry guy, short yardage stuff. But Kyron's a good pass catcher, and I think he's fine. I think he's going to be fine. Zamir White is the target of mine as my RB2. Digum, Raheem Mostert, I'd be comfortable with him as my RB2 in spots. Zeke, I think he's could put up RB2 night numbers as well. And then, flyer on Jaleel McLaughlin and Dylan Labe. So, yeah, my running back room is kind of thin, after Mostert and Zeke is a little bit aging. You got to hit on the breakout for Zamir, Kyron there. McLaughlin, it's a lot going on there in Denver, but he really could fall into a larger role at some point in the season. Should they release Samaje Perine or a surprise cut in Javonte, which I don't think they'll do. I don't think Peyton loves Javonte as much as I do as a real life running back. So yeah, I think this squad is all right. Maybe a little heavier wide receiver. Maybe next time we'll start an RB type build, or we'll get an RB in the first two. At least one in the first 2 rounds, to try something different. But I look at Team 3 and Nelson. I like the way that he started with those 4 wide receivers and CD, Waddle, Devontae, and Stephon Diggs, and you have Dalton Kincaid there. And then I like his running backs: Montgomery, Pollard, Gus Edwards, Jalen Wright. He's shooting for some upside with Wright and Ty Chandler catching balls out of the backfield. Gibson balls out of the backfield. Of course, the high upside guy there, handcuff type back in Jordan Mason. Getting the second quarterback is in Justin Fields. Other teams that started have wide receiver. Breece Hall as the hero RB. Team 4, the Nico Collins, Brendan Ayuk gets Laporta, Stroud, Kirk, Addison, Worthy. So not crazy about those wide receivers, but this is a hero RB type build, and like the running back flyers that Team 4 took with Zach Moss and Rico Dowdle, J.K. Dobbins, Bucky Irving catching balls out of the backfield, like some generic Prince. I like that pick. I think he's a better pick than CEH and Sermon. So kind of just other people's handcuffs. Next man up type thing. Bucky Irving catching balls in the backfield. Estime, goal line roll. Shipley, Saquon gets hurt. Generic Prince rather is I like that pick quite a bit actually. Trace Sermon. I think Prince is ahead of CEH already, and I think he will be, it'll be set in stone. I think at some point in the season, you'll see the Bengals and then the Saints. Other teams, so wide receiver heavy start, Team 7. I already went over this team quite a bit, but Jefferson, Olave, Pittman with McBride, Cooper, and Chris Godwin. Don't really love the running backs. Chase Brown, Jalen Warren, Tajay Spears is tough, really tough, really tough. Other teams, Team 11 with the Taylor and Gibbs start, then DJ Moore, Zay Flower, Tank Dell, Christian Watson, Javonte Williams, so RB3 in there, Donald Mooney, Nick Chubb. So, this will be a squad in the middle of the season that is going to have elite running back Taylor, Gibbs, and Chubb. And if Javonte's fine, it's pretty strong running back room. Moore is the 1, Flowers 2, Tank Dell 3, Watson is your wild card. I believe in Darnell Mooney. I thought at the time that may have been a touch of a reach, or some guys I like ahead of him. Some of those guys are Jahan Dotson, Dontavian Wicks, kind of right on that same range for me. I actually am pretty high on Jalen Polk, and I do have Rashid Shaheed. But hey, you get your guy you knew you were going to pick there for a while. And if there's a guy you feel strong about, you go get him. And I'd like Mooney this year, so I like the call. Xavier Legette, Marvin Mims. Tight ends, Goddard and Conklin. Yeah, I can just never know Goddard's ceiling. It just doesn't seem high. Maybe it'll be different this year with Kellen Moore moving guys around. He seems to get hurt, every year. And the offense does seem to run through just AJ and Devontae and Barkley are the backfield, but Conklin is a guy that I think, Team 11 will probably be like, yeah, I like this pick. I'm going to be starting Conklin over Goddard this week. And then Ben Sinnott and Will Levis is the quarterback 2 there. So I dig it. Again, you start like this, your wide receivers are not, it's kind of a step down. Like Moore's not a 1, Flowers not really a 2, and Tank Dell's not a 3. I don't think so anyways. He's 3 on his own team, but Watson, if he pays off, he could be a 2 for you. Marvin Harrison Jr. and Drake London start with Pacheco, Jacobs, Cook, JSN, Brian Thomas Jr., Jordan Love, Brock Bowers, Blake Corum, Singletary, Josh Downs, Trevor Lawrence with Love, 2 good quarterbacks there. Jets defense, top notch, Vidal and CEH. So, they got the KC backfield there. Jacobs and Cook are pretty good, with those 3 running backs. JSN is your 3rd. I'm here for the JSN breakout. May not fully see it till Lockett goes away. Lockett did lead the team in targets last year, but JSN was tied for the team league in targets in the last 5 games. I think 2 of his last 4 touchdowns, or 2 of his 4 came in the last few weeks near the end of the game. They were game-winning touchdowns in the last minute. I like JSN as a target. And Brian Thomas, he got a little bit of both there, kind of a small floor, short A dot. Brian Thomas Jr. stretched the field. There's more that he can do. His route running may be raw, but they didn't ask him to do a whole lot with Malik Neighbors on the squad in LSU. He can do, I think, just about everything. I think he's a really good prospect. So Corum and Singletary. Singletary, I mean, he falls here into the 11th. It's not a sexy pick, but hey, somebody's got to carry the rock and get some touches there. It's not a bad squad. Kind of thin at wide receiver after the first couple. The uncertainty with Harrison and London, but I expect both guys to be target hogs. Let's look at Team 10. Garrett Wilson, Saquon Barkley, Cooper Kupp, Rashee Rice, Patrick Mahomes. So a little bit of 1-2 punch. And I don't think Rice is going to get suspended. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a commissioner. That's for sure. I don't know what's going to happen with him. All I know is his court date is in December, and that suspension could come after. It could come the following year. Like Kamara. Aaron Jones is RB2, Najee Harris, RB3, Tyler Algier in there. We have Tracy Jr. and Backy there. Texans D, Jordan Whittington, Wandell Robinson. So wide receiver room is it's okay. Started strong with Wilson and Kupp and Bryce, and then Deontay is a target hog there, and then maybe off the board a bit. But value there with Jacoby and value there with Donatavian Wicks. All right, we'll probably wrap up here. I like some of these like late round. EC Vosh I talked about as a late round target. I like. I don't even think Kendrick Bourne's a bad target there. Malachi Corley, was on my radar, but I went Mike Williams. Jermaine Burton, I think, is okay. Just I think that EC Vosh is going to play ahead of him in the slot. Tyler Boyd is okay too, in the slot. Wandell Robinson, interesting. Late round target, 14th round PPR boost. Some of these backs again, I think you're just shooting for upside. You're shooting for kind of next man up, AJ Dillon, Dust, but like a Will Shipley, even a Bucky Irving, Estime. Justice Hill makes sense with Henry. Kamani Vidal makes a lot of sense. It's going to run the football there a bit. So yeah, it's a fun draft. I always like just diving into the teams after that, went different way. If they went running back heavy, what do their wide receivers look like? The more balanced attack, what does it look like? See Team 8 with a bit of a balanced attack in Amon-Ra, Nakua, then a Chan, a Josh Allen, Mark Andrews, Ramondre and DeAndre Swift, Jameson Williams in there as wide receiver 3, Lockett as your 4, Thielen 5, then like some rookies there, Burton and Corley. And, you got Chuba Hubbard with Jonathan Brooks. You have the Carolina backfield. You make that swap when, they make that swap. A Chan and Ramondre and DeAndre Swift. I like that build. I think we've gone through it all. Team 2 is one that we actually didn't. Bijan Robinson with Debo, Kenneth Walker, George Pickens. This is a bit more of a balanced attack as well. Kyle Pitts in here, James Conner. So 3 RBs in the first 6 rounds. Not my jam, but I do like Conner, and I like Bijan for sure. Roma Dunze, I love the player. I just think it's going to be like a little like JSN, right? Stepping into a situation where he's going to be behind, some dudes. DK and Lockett this time with Odunze here with, DJ Moore and Keenan Allen and Cole Kmet and Baxton Ketchel the backfield. But interesting with Coleman and then Shakir. That one's going to be tough. Like, who are you going to want to start? You want to start both of them. At times when you do, it's Buffalo, more run first. I like Shakir quite a bit. I like Shakir more than Coleman. I do have some Keon Coleman shares. I think he is he's the odd man out. Like, I think that it's going to be Samuel and Shakir on the field, and the 2 tight ends. But Coleman in the red zone, there's certainly going to be some plays for him. He looks like a great player. Like, I think he's a great dynasty target, catch a lot of passes. Like Shakir Moore. Shaheed, I like. Ricky Purcell, Jalen Tolbert, McMillan, and then OC Boss there. So I do like a lot of these wide receivers. But, could be some growing pains there for Dunze and Coleman. And then, he just ignored running back after, why not? You get 3 in the first 6 rounds, and you go with Lloyd and Herbert as RB4 and 5. And then you have Kyler and Brock Purdy, two top 12, 2 top 10 quarterbacks there. All right. Pretty good stuff. Appreciate you guys taking the time to hang out. We rolled through it. We'll try maybe a little bit of a different build next time. But yeah, shout out to NFFC, playnffc.com, the site to check out. and check out all the rankings, all the projections over at ftnfantasy.com. If you're looking for an annual package, well, we got you covered over at ftnfantasy.com/pricing. The Fantasy Football Plus package includes everything. You can use promo code FTN15, save yourself a little bit of cash. It's got the DVOA statistics in there. It has all the tools, content, Discord channel, rankings from all of us, cheat sheets. You have Jeff Ratcliffe's game plan, rookie scouting guide, all rankings for whatever format you play, standard, half point, PPR, super flex. We have dynasty rankings, we have best ball rankings. We have you covered over at ftnfantasy.com, and we'll be with you throughout the entire season, updating those rankings. You can reach out to us anytime in the Discord channel. Heck, Jeff has his own channel, and the DVOA metrics, all the DVOA content, all the premium tools, wide receiver cornerback matchup tools, one of my favorites, splits tool, pace tool, league sync, cheat sheets for days. You have tiers, auction values. It's all there for you. And if you want the biggest package with us, the NFL VIP Plus, well, then you're going to get bets in there and DFS in there, as well as betting models. But we'll have lots of content here to come. FTN Fantasy, look for ranking videos, tier videos, strategy videos, futures. It's all happening. Check out our show, FTN Fantasy, on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. That is from 1 to 3, from Monday to Friday. Myself, Jake Seeley, and Dane Martinez. And you can always listen on demand on the app and check out all of our team previews and previous shows by searching FTN Fantasy on the all-new SiriusXM app. Appreciate you guys. Thanks a lot for taking the time to hang out. You can follow me at Chris Meaney. I meant to have that here. And why not just put it on the way out? Look at that. Cheers, guys. Appreciate you. Peace.